Hello and good morning, friends. Today we're going to be taking a look at a system from 1974. We've got no records, no idea where anything is, and there's no reasonable access at the surface. So we get to play the fun game of find the tank and see what it looks like. So I'm going to take you with me. Let's get into it. All right, so this is our backyard that we're working with today. As you can see, we don't have any access points whatsoever. We got some fresh sod. All right, we can see that they've got the hay over here, a little bit of hay over there. So it's potential that maybe something could be over here, but I don't think it's gonna be on this side just because we have that orange flag, right? That'll usually indicate that we've got some kind of internet or utility underground. Now, if we look at the top of the house, we can see right up top, that's where all the vent stacks are, right? So there's the little pipes that you see right over there, here, and there. With those vent stacks, that basically will help us figure out, okay, it's gonna be somewhere in line with that. I know it's gonna be in the backyard just because the well's up front. So the next step is we're gonna look around, see if we find anything obvious in the ground. If I can't find anything obvious, the next step, what we're gonna do is take a metal detector and a probe and see if we can find something to help us get into this tank. By using the metal detector, what I'm looking for, which is this little fella right here, what I'm looking for is going to be any kind of metal cap, lid, or even the rebar of the tank itself. So by sweeping the yard in a grid-like pattern using that metal detector, the odds of me finding the tank are much, much higher. Once I find something metallic, then I'm gonna use the probe and we're gonna see if we can hit the tank. If we can hit the tank, we'll measure it, dig up those lids, see what we're working with. So I'm gonna go ahead and sweep real quick and I'll let you know if I find it. Okay, so no luck so far on running the metal detector through the backyard, so we're gonna take a little break and we looked inside, right? The reason I wanna look inside is I wanna see where is that sewer stack. So we can see here that we have our actual sewer line. And with this sewer line, you'll see all the wastewater will come down into here, and then we're gonna have a cast iron stack exiting the house. But we can see that we had one waste pipe and another waste pipe right here. And you might be wondering, well, what could that possibly be? And let me show you. So we have our laundry right over here. You can see the laundry discharge tube comes up and over to there. Now, this is gonna be a pipe just right outside. When we go outside, I'll show you, it's right going into the downspout. So they're discharging their gray water out of the house, not to the septic. This is a big no-no in our state, right? Even though it's from a laundry machine, utility sinks, normal sinks, showers, all that water is considered sewage water once it's done being used. And it has to go to a septic system. So usually, whenever I see somebody cut pipes like that, that tells me that something might have backed up previously and they didn't want to have that additional water going into the system. So we're gonna go ahead and go back outside, see if we can get any more luck to find where the septic system is, hopefully get it open and see, has it backed up previously? Okay, so it looks like we actually are over top the tank. So right here's the front, edge, 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 back. I believe that's the distribution box over there. Not super uncommon in this area, especially for this time period, to have a tank does not have any access at grade, right? So if that happens, don't panic, right? All we gotta do is just mark out our edges, get our shovel and our tarp, dig up that lid and see what we're working with. So I'm gonna go ahead and dig that hole real quick and I'll see you once we get to the other side. Okay, so we did find the tank. It was actually in that spot, so that's a good thing. We got the clean out on the front dug up, and now we're gonna put some water through the system to see what it does while we dig up the distribution box. Now, this particular property has a flower pot serving as a lid. We can see here that we have our flower pot and a little piece of sheet metal right over top. Flower pots don't really make a super great lid, but you'll see this on tanks, especially where the clean out gets broken over time. We can see that the hub's missing for where a lid would normally go. So in the interim, I guess they decided to put a flower pot on there. We're still gonna recommend that they put a proper lid on this tank. And the reason why is you don't want excessive groundwater going into your system. We're also gonna recommend a riser, but the small potatoes. So let's go ahead and get water running through this while I dig up that distribution box, make sure everything's draining correctly. And then once we do all that, we're gonna put the camera through the pipes and hopefully everything looks good. So see you in a few seconds. Alrighty, so we got a little unlucky with this one today. We have ourselves a 3-foot by 3-foot distribution box and some idiot decided to run electrical cables above the box. Presumably that's going to the shed that's behind me, but super important to make sure that you're very careful whenever you're digging up anything in your yard. that you know where electrical stuff is and you're able to avoid it as best as possible. This was not marked, but it is what it is, didn't get hurt. So now I gotta sit here and fight to get this lid open for the distribution box and see where it's going. So this right here is a prime example of why I do not like these large distribution boxes. As you can see, there are roots all in the sidewalls of this box, meaning this box has lost its structural integrity and needs to be replaced. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead, grab the camera. While we do that, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit more about distribution boxes. All right, so you might be asking, what is a distribution box and what are they for? So a distribution box is gonna be a little box just like what we just saw, where when water goes into the tank, the heavy stuff will fall out of suspension and then the liquids will move onto the box. From the distribution box, all of that liquid will evenly disperse into the drain fields, right? Generally, most of these boxes are 12 inches by about 18 or 24 inches. Nobody really uses those really large boxes anymore because they're so prone to decay and root intrusion that almost every single one of them that I come across has to get dug up. Large boxes were very prevalent and very common between 1960 and 1990, and then they switched to the smaller boxes. And the smaller boxes have just the same amount of lifespan as the big ones, and they do the exact same thing as the big ones. The big ones are just gonna cost the homeowner more, and in my opinion, that doesn't really serve you any benefit as a homeowner. So if you're going to replace your distribution box, it's a good idea to stick with one that's a moderate size that can still accommodate all of the water and the drain fields that you have in your system. For example, this size of box usually will be used on 9 trenches, not 3. So we've got 3 outlet lines. So in a second, we're gonna grab my camera and we're gonna see where do those pipes go? What do they look like? Are they draining correctly? Is everything playing the way that it's supposed to play? We've got water running right now, and the reason I'm doing that is to see if it backs up or if anything happens while I'm digging up the hole. So I'm gonna grab that, I'll see you in a second. So we had to do a little bit of a uniform swap just because I was getting a little too gross and we're getting ready to move on to the next property. Can't have anybody thinking I look like a complete slob. So we've gone through this entire system, right? The major things that we found is really gonna be that distribution box and the absorption system. But while we were running the camera, we also noticed that there were some issues with the drain field lines. They had old Orangeburg clay line, or old Orangeburg lines, right? These lines were super common before the 1970s, and basically it was just wood fiber, pitch, and it was just put together just kind of like that, right? Now, the issue with this type of pipe is it's incredibly weak. And what'll happen is roots will work their way in there, which they did. Or if you put some excessive weight on the system, that weight will actually crush those pipes and you won't be able to do anything about it at all. In this particular circumstance, they unfortunately are gonna have to replace the distribution box. But there's a good chance that when they pull the permit to do that, the county could come back and tell them that they have to replace the drain field lines also. And the reason why is because they're made of Orangeburg. Orangeburg pipes are super bad. And if it hasn't collapsed already, which it did, it's going to collapse again eventually. So usually in the replacement of the box part, the contractor is going to dig up that pipe and replace that pipe entirely. If you have an old home before 1970, it's a really good idea to make sure you get a camera through your sewer line, both from the house, from the tank, and in your drain field lines, so you can figure out, do you have Orangeburg pipe or not? If you have Orangeburg pipe, you really should consider getting rid of it, because you will just be asking for problems. That's my least favorite pipe out of all of the different pipe styles, right? You got your PVC, terracotta, cast iron, Orangeburg. Orangeburg's the worst. You don't want that, right? So I know we covered a lot of ground today. I hope that you found this informative. If you got any value out of this, if you found it interesting or entertaining, hit that like button, hit subscribe. I have more videos posted every day on the world of well and septic. Until next time, I'll see you guys tomorrow.